Good evening. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. This is a Marion City Council meeting for Thursday, August 17th. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Mr. Miskman,
Here.
Mr. Jensen,
Here.
Mr. Harper,
Here.
Mayor Abu Asli,
Here.
Mr. Brandt, Miss Menser, here, Mr. Sterned.
Here. Thank you. At this time, we have a moment of silence. Thank you. Our first item this evening is a proclamation for the 17th Annual Five Seasons Stand Down Day, which is September 7th, 2023. I asked Mayor Pro Tem to read the proclamation. And we have Mr. Sutler here to accept it. Please come forward.
Whereas Valor Incorporated is in partnership with the Cedar Rapids Metro Area Veterans Council, the Iowa City VA Medical Center, and the Lynn County Continuum of Care will hold Lynn County's 17th annual stand down for homeless and near homeless veterans and non-veterans. And whereas stand down is a term used in times of war in which exhausted combat units come off the battlefield to rest and recovery in a place of safety. And whereas, according to the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, the first stand down was organized in 1988 by a group of Vietnam veterans in San Diego. And whereas, today, stand down also refers to a community-based program that assists homelessness and near homeless veterans transition to community living by providing access to human service agencies, including benefits counseling, employment and training assistance, eye exam screenings, healthcare screenings, housing services, legal assistance, mental health treatment, and substance abuse counseling. And whereas stand down events have been used as an effective tool in reaching out to homeless veterans, nationally reaching more than 200,000 veterans and their family members. Now, therefore, I, Grant Harper, on behalf of Mayor Abu Asli, do hereby proclaim September 7, 2023 as the 17th annual Five Seasons Stand Down Day and encourage residents to recognize the positive impacts of this event to assist veterans and to express gratitude to those who have served and continue to serve our nation. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Very good. If you'd like, anything that you'd like to say?
Sure. Good evening. My name's Joe Stutler. On behalf of the Five Seasons Stand Down and the Valor Board, I'd like to thank the City Council and all of you for caring, because this stuff is important. Living in Marion now on and off for 22 some years. When I first moved here, I was homeless. It happens. We don't notice the homeless in our community because we don't have the typical sleeping in the doorway homeless that most people think of, cardboard box in the park kind of thing. Many of our homeless are sleeping in cars, couch surfing, in various other places where they're out of sight. And if they're out of sight, they're out of mind. And for me, they're never out of mind. And I don't want them to be out of sight either. So if at all possible, come on down on the 7th, down to Veterans Memorial Stadium, learn about what we do. We've got 70 some service agencies coming this year to support. Should be a good time, and hopefully you'll learn something. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is a special presentation, and I'll ask the Fire Chief Fagan to come forward.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and City of Marion. It is my honor to recognize a Marion resident who truly went above and beyond to serve our community and specifically their fellow person. On May 10th, 2023 at 6:27 PM, a fire broke out at the Suntan City Salon at 1725 Blair's Ferry Road. This was during normal business hours, not only for the salon, but for several other businesses in the strip mall. As the fire grew exponentially by the minute, occupants were evacuating for their safety. At the time, Marion resident Holden Meir, standing at my right, was working in one of the businesses in the strip mall. Holden recognized that there was an emergency and went to see if he could help in any way. Holden called out from a doorway to the salon, now blanketed nearly to the floor with dark, dense, black smoke. Hoping to hear that everyone was out, but Holden could hear a woman still needing help inside the building. Holden made an extremely tough decision, placing himself at risk. Holden entered the smoke-filled building, quickly found the woman, and pulled her out of the building to safety. The woman experienced life-threatening injuries, but survived the event due to the actions taken by Holden. We're thankful to have amazing residents like Holden Meir in our community, and it's my honor to recognize Holden Meir and present him with a Community Life-Saving Award. Please join me in applause to recognize and thank him for his actions. Lastly, in conversations with Holden, I've learned of his goal to someday become a Marion firefighter. And he's already began his preparation for the next hiring process. We look forward to seeing his application and wish him the best of luck in the future. So congratulations again and thank you. I know that you brought some family with you here, and so if you'd like to introduce your family to us.
All right, I have my grandfather, Jack Edmonds, my mother, and my father, Amy Barta and Frank Meir, my stepmother and stepfather, Peg Burlage, or Peg Meir and Russell Barta, and then my nephew, Bennett.
Well, Holden, we'd like to get a picture with you.
Yes.
And we also have one of the fire crews that was here the night of the fire here as well. So guys, if you could come up with a picture for us as well.
Do you like us to go
Yes,
down?
if you would please join
You
us.
guys all want to come down? Okay. All of it? Okay. Big picture.
Think you're good, as long as everyone finds a window.
Okay.
Well, thank you to Holden and the entire team who was there that evening. Okay. At this time, we have a public forum, which is a time set aside for comments from members of the public on any item that is on the agenda but not part of a public hearing. There will be another time at the end of the meeting for comments that are not associated with the agenda. But at this time, we'll take comments from the public on any topic that is listed on the agenda but not part of a public hearing. Is there anyone here to address council? Please come forward. Okay, seeing that no one's coming forward, we will close this part of the meeting and move on to the consent agenda.
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as follows. This will include items A1 through F3 and resolutions 31536 through 31552.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented, including items A1 through F3, resolutions 31536 through 31552. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. For the next section, I'll turn over the meeting to the Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve the consent agenda with Mayor Abu Osley's abstention. This will include items A1 through F3, resolutions 31553 through 31564.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda with the mayor's abstention as follows. Items A1 through F3, resolutions numbers 31553 through 31564. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the consent agenda as stated with the mayor's abstention, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Back to the mayor.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 23-21, amending various sections of the Marion Code of Ordinances to update to gender neutral pronouns. Final consideration.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the final consideration of ordinance number 23-21, amending the Marion Code of Ordinances to update to gender neutral pronouns. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 31565, approving a sewer revenue loan agreement and authorizing the issuance of sewer revenue bonds, series 2023 D.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 31565, approving a sewer revenue loan agreement and authorizing the issuance of sewer revenue bonds, series 2023 D. Discussion? Yes,
Your
ma'am.
Honor, we do have Michael Maloney online to go ahead and give a brief presentation on these items.
Okay, Mr. Maloney, welcome.
Hi, folks. Good to visit with you once again here. I've got a few slides in a similar format to what I've shared with you before. We'll cover both the 2023 D and E series, and I'll try to be as short as sweet as possible today. So on slide 2 that's on your screen, just a little overview of the current bond market environment. Today was a challenging day in the bond market as we saw a global bond market sell-off, some inflationary concerns, and sort of a move to expectation that the Fed's going to have rates stay higher for longer. That being said, municipal interest rates are still relatively low on a historical basis, and we do have a couple factors in there. One, the yield curve index, so kind of where the market's been going, and then also the city-specific credit spreads. So really have been working to understand where the city's bonds should be pricing and then work through the dynamics of today, really trying to navigate comparable bond issues. You can see the listing of those that were reviewed with city staff, all utility revenue secured bonds similar to the sewer and solid waste issuances that we have in front of us today. So just a little bit of overview there before going on to the next slide, which looks a little bit like a messy spaghetti bowl here, but that is in fact the actual shape of our yield curve here over the last several months. We have seen a relatively flat overall curve with some inversion in the mid years. It is kind of a wacky time with interest rates at the moment, but you can see that we've stayed within a relatively narrow band for the last year or so, all things considered from a rate standpoint. At the end of the day, the focus is on where we priced under the current market conditions, as well as where did we price in line with our budget considerations on both fronts, I can say that was a success today. Let's go to slide 4 with a little bit more detail on that. So on the sewer bonds that we were issuing, and again, both of these series were being issued to provide their share of funding for the city's public services financing, public services building financing. You'll recall that Series 2023A was the road use tax revenue supported bonds, which was the first of the series for this purpose. And we reviewed that with the council in subsequent council meetings. I'm pleased to report that both series received the initial rating of AA3 from Moody's Investor Service. So this is 2 notches below the city's outstanding general obligation bond credit rating. And I will say, based on the size of the city and their utilities, a AA credit rating is not a given, and a really strong sign of performance in the work that the staff and council have done. In addition to the credit rating, both series also received credit enhancement from a bond insurance provider, allowing us to market the bonds with a true AA rating. I will tell you that we got particularly strong pricing on the bond insurance quotes as they saw the credit for the city favorably. All told, on the sewer revenue bonds, the true interest cost, kind of similar to APR for our personal or commercial finance, was a 4.42%. And that represents an average life just under 12 years, despite these being a 20-year bond issuance. We'll start paying interest this December, and the bonds will be paid through 2043. Though the city can exit the bonds early in December of 29, that was part of our planning that for all the public services financings to align with the 2020 balloon payments that'll be payable in 2030. Our goal here was to maximize flexibility to refinance and restructure. Before going on to E, I wanted to point out that our final annual debt service payments on the sewer revenue bonds were about $65,000 less per year than what we had in the preliminary numbers and for budget purposes. So very favorable results. And again, I want to credit the city staff and their hard work on the credit process and the insurance process that gave us a foot up and a leg up, even in a challenging market environment today. I'm going to pause there on the sewer before flipping over to solid waste and wrapping up for the presentation. Leanne or other staff, any comments or questions, or before we turn to council?
Leanne, do you have anything to add?
I don't.
Questions? None? We have
Let's
no
go to
questions.
slide
That's
5.
Well covered.
Similar story here on the solid waste revenue bonds from a credit and credit enhancement standpoint. You'll notice that the interest cost on these was slightly higher. That was not because of a different rates. Everything was priced the same. The difference was, as we previously discussed with the council, our plan of finance for the solid waste utility was a more deferred repayment to maximize flexibility. So interest only for several years before principal being repaid on this portion as previously presented. Overall, the 4.52% rate on that true interest cost, again, similar to APR for our personal or commercial finance, came in for this time for an average life just over 14 years on these bonds. But we also had the same type of maximum flexibility from that shorter call aligning with our other outstanding debt. The difference here on solid waste, and this is primarily due to the shape of the debt, the actual debt service payments are going to be about $75,000 to $85,000 less than our projections on solid waste, while it was about $65,000 better for sewer. So in both cases, according to budget, we're going to be in a good place for both sewer and solid waste on that front. Let's go to the last couple slides here to wrap things up. Just a little bit, we always kind of do adjust the facts here. We did have the marketing for the bond start when the offering document was prepared a week ago, Monday on the 7th. We want to provide that to all potential investors. We'll always include the local banking institutions for tax status purposes, plus the current market environment. We weren't expecting a lot of local bank participation, but making that a possibility is part of the habit. And we want to make sure that's available each time the city offers bonds into the marketplace. We worked this week to get pre-pricing feedback, working with investors, trying to gain indications of interest. We went through several order periods today to be able to finalize rate structures, investors, working with the attorneys, the insurers, and city staff to wrap everything up in time for today's council meeting. So what we're able to do is really have our cake and eat it too, from a structure standpoint and a future flexibility standpoint, really hit about 95% of the things we wanted to on these bonds, even though we stayed aggressive with things like the shorter call date That's going to make sure that the city's in good shape to handle each of these utilities in 2030 and beyond as we're thinking about these as long-term projects. Slide 7, just to wrap up our timeline. Today is going to be the last action for the city council. In typical format, your bond attorneys at Dorsey and Whitney have prepared all legal documents, the purchase agreements, authorizing loan documents, all together in the action for these resolutions today. So the last step of this will be closing on September 6th, and there's no council meeting necessary for us to deliver those funds to the city. As I mentioned before, again, both of these financings, 2023D and E, are related to the public service facility that I know we've reviewed several times with city staff and council in prior meetings. Just want to be clear here on the final results that we're sharing with you and pleased to share with you today. My last point again, just can't point out how much work staff has done on this project to date. Very pleased to be a part of that team to bring a very complex and large project to a satisfactory conclusion and share that with council today. With that, I have no more commentary, but Leanne, staff, or the council, if there's any questions, happy to answer them here today or offline at your convenience.
Thank you. Anything to add to that, Leanne?
I think the only thing that might be worth adding from a timeline standpoint is that we are nearing the end of what we had remaining from our road use series, so we've timed this one pretty well.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion? We're now on A2, resolution number 31565. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving resolution number 31565, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 31566, approving a solid waste revenue loan agreement and authorizing the issuance of solid waste revenue bonds series 2023E.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 31566, approving the solid waste revenue loan agreement, authorizing the issuance of solid waste revenue bonds, series 2023E. Discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 31566, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 23-22, amending chapter 274, article 2 of the Marion Code of Ordinances regarding stormwater management regulations, and this is the final consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the final consideration of ordinance number 23-22, amending chapter 274, article 2 of the Marion Code of Ordinances regarding stormwater management regulations. Discussion? All those in favor of approving resolution number 23-22, ordinance number 23-22, final consideration, please say aye. All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 31567, approving the stormwater basin design and maintenance policy.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 31567, approving the stormwater basin design and maintenance policy. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of resolution number 31567, say aye. All those opposed, say no. The motion is approved. Next on the agenda is a public hearing regarding an encroachment agreement for a fence into the city right of way for property located at 1185 Maple Crest Drive. The public hearing is now open. And do we have a presentation? Yes, Dave, go ahead.
A brief one. Yes, the applicants are requesting to encroach into the public right of way for the installation of a chain link fence. It's a public hearing with our encroachments because the length of time is over 3 years. The fence location is roughly shown in the blue line. The property lines are the yellow. We have a lot of excess right of way in that corner of the street, kind of turns north. So there's quite a bit of yard there that the owners can't use. because it's public right of way. So they request to place the fence on the blue line, approximately 12 feet from back of curb, and then transitioning to about 8 feet as it moves east toward the inlet there, and then returning to the garage, back to the south. Marion Engineering went out there. There are some utilities running through this area, sewer. They went out and stormwater and sewer. Went out and identified where those pipes were at, just to avoid any placement of any fence posts into that area. The owner is aware of those. Ran it through public service as well. As long as the utilities are located, they had no concerns with the placement of the chain link fence in this area. The agreement would allow them to do it as proposed, but it reserves the city's right to go in and access the utilities if need be and remove the fence if they have to get in and do work. It's pretty standard encroachment agreement.
Okay, public hearing is now open. Is there anyone here to address council on this measure? Either in favor or in opposition? Please come forward. Okay, seeing no one's coming forward, we'll close the public hearing and we'll ask the staff if any comments have been received outside the meeting.
None.
I have not
Rachel?
received any.
Okay, please note that in the record. And we'll move on to the resolution.
Yes, Your Honor. I move to approve resolution number 31568, approving an encroachment agreement with Brittany Posh and Hunter Colachia regarding a fence into the city right-of-way for property located at 1185 Maple Crest Drive, Marion, Iowa.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 31568, approving an encroachment agreement for a fence into the city right of way at 1185 Maple Crest Drive. Discussion.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Dave, you said in this depiction, the blue line is the proximate location where the fence would be installed?
Correct.
And what is the structure then that's on the north portion of this representation? Is that a switch cabinet or is that a personal property?
It's actually a trailer. The large structure running parallel to the road.
Okay.
That's a trailer.
Is it, so will that remain there?
No,
inside
that was
the
the previous owner. That's been ordered
Okay.
removed
And
a couple of years ago.
Okay, sorry to ask that question. I just didn't have a chance to get over there. Okay, those were my only questions.
Go ahead.
So Dave, how common is it for us to allow fences to be put on the city right away?
It's, I recall specifically a couple times. I'm sure if I got into the records, I'd find more, but I specifically remember a few of them over the last few years. Typically it's into the alleyways.
Okay, so in
grass
this
alleyway.
situation, you're comfortable with it since the right of way is so large in this particular situation?
It's excessive right away. There's no sidewalks immediately planned in this area, so it doesn't conflict with sidewalks. All the departments that actually matter, engineering, public service, they were okay with the placement as long as they identified where the posts could go, so they don't interfere with the utility line or the utility lines through that area.
Yeah, I know the neighborhood. I grew up several years at 1225 Maple Crest Drive. So, and I actually happened to be driving down Maple Crest Drive coming to our meeting tonight. And it's really, if you guys haven't been down Maple Crest Drive, it's really a cool street with all the maple trees lining it. I mean, it's a nice looking street, but anyway, that aside.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Your Honor.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Dave, just sort of a question, a what if question here. If we have to do any work on our facilities that are in ground, what are our obligations relative to that fence?
Our obligations, we can remove it. We don't have to replace it. That'll be on the owners. If the owner wants to replace it after the work's done, that'll be on their responsibility. We can go in, remove it, access all that property. We have all the rights to that property to continue to do our work on those lines. And then if they want to put it back, that's their responsibility, not the city's.
And the request or the agreement clearly outlines those
It
responsibilities?
does.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor of approving resolution number 31568, please say aye. All those opposed, say no. Motion is approved. For the next item, I will turn over the meeting to the Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve resolution number 31569, approving the Sycamore Heights revised preliminary plat for property located north of 35th Avenue and east of 44th Street Extended, Marion, Iowa, Sycamore Heights LLC.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 31569, approving the Sycamore Heights revised preliminary plat revised for property located north of 35th Avenue and east of 44th Street Extended, Marion, Iowa. And this is on behalf of Sycamore Heights LLC. Any discussion? Very well. All those in favor of resolution number 31569 as stated, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Back to the mayor.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 31570, approving the Central Corridor Review for an update to the facade for the property located at 1135 8th Avenue, Marion, Iowa. This will be Lammers Properties LLC.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 31570, approving the Central Corridor Review for an update to the facade of the property at 1135 8th Avenue. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of approving resolution number 31570, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 31571, approving the Central Corridor Review for an update to the facade for the property located at 777 11th Street, Marion, Iowa. And this is also Lammers Properties LLC.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 31571, approving the Central Corridor Review for an update to the facade for the property at 777 11th Street. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of resolution number 31571, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The motion is approved. For the next, next item is a public hearing on a permanent easement with the Interstate Power Light Company at 3205 Third Avenue. Okay, the public hearing is now open. May we have a presentation?
Yes, this is a public hearing regarding a establishment of a 20-foot by 20-foot permanent easement to be located in the southwest corner of the Peg Pierce softball complex there. Just down on, well, it's on Third Avenue, but this would be on 31st Street at the very southwest corner. Alliant is looking to place a gear switch cabinet shown in the picture there. It's not very big. It's a 20 by 20-foot easement that allows them to access all the way around it. But that'll be on a 7 by 7 foot pad, and it's even smaller than that. So it's pretty minor. It's a minor utility for our zoning classifications and doesn't require additional review beyond that. Went to the Park Service Board last month. They did recommend approval 5-0. The draft easement has been updated. That was not in your packet regarding maintenance, regarding access around the property for the city to continue to access around the property, as well as restoring the property at such time that the utility is removed, and they'll have to restore the property.
Okay. Is there anyone here to address council on this measure, either in favor or in opposition? Please come forward. Okay, did you receive any comments outside the meeting?
None.
I have not.
Please note that for the record. We'll close the public hearing. And for the resolution, I will turn over the meeting to Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve resolution number 31572, approving a permanent easement with Interstate Power and Light Company be located at 3205 Third Avenue, Marion, Iowa.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 31572, approving a permanent easement with Interstate Power and Light Company to be located at 3205 Third Avenue, Marion, Iowa. Any discussion? I've got one question, Dave. So the necessity for this easement is because it requires, it goes beyond what we would normally allow pursuant to our utility franchise obligations. Is that?
That is my understanding. And again, this would be an easement that would be required if we actually platted the property, but because the property is not being platted, they had to go and acquire the easement that way, thus this process.
All right.
And
Okay.
it is on city property, not necessarily the right of way.
Yeah. Okay. I'm digging way back into my utility life. That's the basis of my question. Okay. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution number 31572, approving a permanent easement with Interstate Power and Light Company to be located at 3205 Third Avenue, Marion, Iowa. All those in favor, please say yes.
Aye.
Yes. Those opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Okay, this brings us to the public forum, which is the time set aside for comments by members of the public on any topic. If there's anyone here to address council, please come forward. Okay, we'll close this part of the meeting and move on to council comments. Start with Mr. Miskimmin.
Sure. Yeah, I kind of want to just talk about my experience last few weeks, going door to door around the ward and talking with different residents, because I feel like sometimes the negativity that surfaces on social media is really divisive and non-constructive. And so sometimes you kind of forget that that's not the real world until you go door to door with people. And my experience last few weeks, knocking on people's doors, most people don't expect someone to knock on their door, and then they're a little skeptical because they're like, what are you trying to sell me? And then, but then they're really first relieved, but then really happy to just talk about their experiences, how they came to Marion in the first place, why they continue to choose Marion. And of course, no city is perfect, and the day that we reach that, we can close the doors because we did it. But that's the whole purpose of reaching higher, right? And people have talked about different issues door to door. People want less people speeding on their street, or we still have people who don't like roundabouts too much, of course. But most of what I experienced was really positivity on why they like Marion, how they've seen Marion grow. They love the changes to Uptown and the surrounding area. They're excited about the new park in their neighborhood. It was just really like, it reminded me of why I wanted to do this in the first place, why I continue to want to do this, and being a proud Marion native myself. So I just wanted to uplift that, because I don't know, some of the social media stuff day to day, no matter what city, or if you work for government, or if you work for media, or if you work for nonprofits, a lot of that seeps in. So putting faces to these conversations and realizing that there's more positivity, I think, than negativity in the world. And I think we forget that sometimes. So just wanted to uplift that.
We're also at a very, very important time of year. School is going to be back in session next Wednesday. So I don't think I found a parent yet that is against that. So and also teachers started reporting back yesterday. And I'm proud to say my daughter will graduated in May and will be teaching second grade for the first time. And she has been putting an enormous number of hours to make sure that classroom is set up just right. So if you see a teacher, thank them for what they do to educate our children in the community, and be aware that the schools will be back in session next Wednesday.
Well, I guess somewhat on the heels of what Steve just commented about, as a former educator, and in a neighborhood where there are, several of my neighbors are educators, I just want to express, and hopefully, that message, or this message gets back to them. You know, this is a very difficult environment that they operate in, our educators. And I say that across the board, whether it is public educators or private educators or homeschoolers, it's a real tough environment. And I just personally really appreciate the work that I see them doing, and the comments that I get from parents that are good comments about our school districts. I just really applaud the work that educators across the board do. The other thing that's been in my mind here over the last week is the fire response on Maui. And I am really, as I think about that and observe the news media reports, I just really appreciate the work that Chief, the fire department is doing in terms of just planning and the response posture, and the same thing Chief Kitzmiller relative to police. And I just think that there will be some broad-based lessons learned that we can take from that may in fact inform our planning as well.
Thank you. Sarah?
Just a couple things. This is my twice a month reminder that Sunrise Yoga is this summer, and we only have 2 weeks left. Thanks to Seth's Parks team for always making sure that that's ready for us on Saturday mornings. We've had a record year, 10th year has been a record year. We've already had over 1,100 participants. We're averaging anywhere from 80 to, I think our highest was like 250 on a Saturday morning. When we started this program 10 years ago, it was 15 to 20 of us on the stage. We didn't need PA systems. We didn't need microphones. We had a little waiver we passed around that everybody signed on one sheet of paper, and it's grown to what it is now. So anybody interested, it is free. It's all levels. It's all ages. It's families. It's just a really nice time out in our beautiful park on a Saturday morning. And then just a couple dates coming up for anybody listening or out here. September 16th will be Oktoberfest for the Marion Chamber, another great community event that we're blessed to have them holding for us. And then a little farther out, but the first Wednesday of October, mark your calendars because it will be the Healthiest State Walk.
Thank you. Great. Okay. I want to start by thanking the volunteers who work in the community garden. Sarah, do you want to share the results of how much food they're delivering to food banks?
Yeah, I don't even have the overall total. I need to check with Peg, but just on Tuesday alone, I think they delivered 35 pounds of various, one day, various vegetables up to the Churches of Marion Food Pantry, and they're always looking for volunteers to help with harvesting that. So let me know.
Yeah, so the opportunity to have fresh produce at the food pantry, besides the canned and processed stuff, is really awesome. So thank you to all who take part in that program. It's making a difference. Just a few things since the last meeting. I've had several conversations or meetings with developers, gave a tour of the city to a potential investor. Had the interview with KCRG. And visited the Board of Supervisors and helped to secure that the $100,001 grant from their ARPA allocation to our plaza project. So that's going to be a great help with the funding for the project. Earlier this week, spent the afternoon with the 4 recipients of the Mayor for a Day package. That was a lot of fun. Last night, I taught my cooking class at the library, which was a donation to the Uptown fundraiser. We had about 20 participants, so that's $2,000 raised for Uptown. And the second class will be next Wednesday, so there's still time to join if anybody wants to. We'll be making baklava. And finally, this morning, I had the pleasure of speaking to the entire staff of Linmar on their back to school, at their back to school assembly. And that was a really cool experience just to share all the connections with the district from my time there in the district until now that are still impacting me and impacting what I do and the trajectory of my life and my career. So it was a really special time, and thank them on behalf of the community for all that they do and hopefully help them understand the impact that they have on the community and the importance of their work. So with that, I agree with Councilmember Miskimmin that social media isn't always isn't always the indicator of the true sentiment of the community. Because anytime I walk into any establishment anywhere, there are people of all ages who just can't wait to say how happy they are with their town, how excited they are about what's going on. Very supportive. And people, as I've said before, people today love their Marion address. And that's just a really exciting thing. It just shows that everything that you are doing is making an impact. It's really impacting lives, and it's really our service-oriented approach is really making a difference. People notice that we're here to serve them, that even if we don't always have the right answer, or we may not always do everything in the way that every single person wants it done, that we are working to serve people, and people recognize that, and we're giving them great opportunities. So please continue what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job. You are impacting lives. Keep reaching higher. Keep giving each other the benefit of the doubt and working together to make this community even a greater standout across the state. So thank you. With that, we have a closed session tonight.
I move to adjourn to closed session regarding litigation as permitted under section 21.51C of the Code of Iowa. This includes two separate matters.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn to closed session regarding litigation as permitted under section 21.51C of the Code of Iowa. May we have the legal counsel's statement, please?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I've reviewed the subject matter of the closed session, and it's my opinion that they fit under the requirements of Iowa Code Section 21.51C.
Thank you. Any discussion before we vote? All those in favor of adjourning to closed session, please say aye.
Roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. May we have the roll call, please? And it's written right here on my agenda, roll call.
Mr. Miskman,
Yes.
Mr. Jensen,
Yes.
Mr. Harper,
Yes.
Mayor Abu Osley,
Yes.
Miss Menzer. Yes. Mr. Sterned.
Yes.
Okay, we are adjourned to closed session. Thank you. I know.